Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this client interview with the lovely Frances Thomas, who told me, I think in session 2, that you didn't like being called Frances because it was the name your mum used when you got in trouble. So from that
Yes.
point on, I'm pretty sure I just called you Fran or Franny. So
Yeah.
um, we'll continue on with that. Fran, you have completed the 6-week intensive with me. You also then went along and did 4 more sessions at fortnightly intervals, which I agreed to because it was very much, you went through such a really big transformation in that 6 weeks. And you were still sort of finding your feet with this new version of you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Are you more settled in this new person that you've become?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I am more. I feel like I'm more myself.
Yeah,
Just being the person that I wanted to be,
that's
and
fabulous.
you know, as we discovered that I learned to use my voice and be able to speak up for myself without feeling like I've offended people.
Yeah.
And that built my confidence as well within myself. So
How
it's great.
fabulous is that?
Yes, it's good. It's just
It's
being
so
the
fabulous.
quiet little person in the background. I'm now, yeah. I'm more confident in using my voice and speaking my mind.
And in our wind-up call, no, I think it was actually in session 6, the standout moment, the standout statement that you made was, I know who I am, I know who I want to be, and I won't let anyone take that away from me. I've found my voice.
Yes. And it was just amazing, like amazing feeling. And it just, like I said, it boosted my confidence even more, knowing that I can be who I want to be, and
Oh,
finding out who I wanted to be
yeah.
as well. Yeah. And
Fran,
discovering that.
when we started working together, one of the biggest issues that it's hard to think that this is what you used to be like. One of your biggest issues was very much around anger. We
Yes.
really had to we really had to work on getting to the bottom of a lot of anger for you.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
but once we did that, and that took a little bit of work, but once we did that, then it was the realization that communication for you was difficult. You'd always sort of, as you said, you'd always sort of sat in the background, um, and I'm going to say, with your family circumstance being the eldest, you also took on a very adult role from a very young age. So
Yeah.
you just kind of replicated your parents rather than developing into who you are today.
Yeah. I felt like I always had to be in control of everything and make sure that, I felt like I was responsible for everybody around me.
Mm,
So I kind of lost who I was as an individual. So it was like, no, I've got to be this person because it's how my mother raised me, how my parents raised me. So I felt like I had to live up to that expectation still, even though
yeah,
they've passed. So,
yeah.
and it was kind of difficult because I felt like, oh my God, I have so many things that I'd like to do and achieve for myself, but here I am taking care of everybody else still to this day.
And they actually didn't want you to, right?
No, that's right. That's
You're like,
correct.
no, I'm supposed to. This is what I'm
Yeah,
supposed to do. I'm supposed to take care of everyone.
yeah, and that's how it always felt. So,
Mm,
and I found myself being frustrated all the time, and
yeah.
um, angry was, yeah, how I always felt. I wasn't happy within myself, and I just felt like, why is it up to me to be responsible for everybody else? So,
And realistically, it wasn't.
no, that's right, and I needed to hear that or know that for myself, that it
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah, up to me.
Fran,
And
I'm listening to you talk now, and even from last week, there's been a really big change. And So I actually want to ask you, as people who have seen these interviews before, part of this process is you have to watch the first session again.
Yeah.
And I don't recognize that person at all.
Neither do I. It's like, who is this woman you speak of? It's just like, wow, is that really who I was? It's just, I think, coming out of my shell a bit more, and like I said, having that confidence within myself has helped boost my self-confidence. So, and I just needed to be guided, I guess, in that area. So.
Do you know that the interesting thing, Fran, is that you're speaking about it, as seems to happen with people after they've been through the process. You're speaking about it relatively casually, like, yeah, no, I just built my confidence and I worked through these issues. But you really took this to heart and you really did the work. And I remember saying to you, it was actually not that long ago, you've actually taught yourself how to learn about yourself.
Yeah, that's huge. And a lot of the self-discovery along the way was, it's always been there, but because I felt like I had to take care of everybody else, I was putting myself last. And now I'm putting myself first. So it's a big change, and it's actually a good feeling.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
It's a kind of like, I feel like a new person. It's, even though that person has always been there, it's just actually coming out of the shell and blossoming, I guess. So
because there's no way you would have talked like this a couple of months ago. There's just no way. You were just like,
yes. Exactly.
And you did comment on my post, who is this person that you speak of?
Yeah.
This is the person I'm speaking of.
Yeah.
You really have overcome so much of, you know what? It was all the stuff that you believed you were supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's actually not an easy thing to work through. It really, and you would know, it involves seriously looking at those things and asking yourself whether that's actually part of who you really are or not.
Yeah.
And I do remember we had the session where we talked about your mother's belief systems versus what you actually truly believe yourself as a person today.
Yeah.
And that was a very big eye-opener for you as well.
Yeah, because there are a lot of differences there that I didn't recognize or see before. And then as we worked through those issues, I thought, oh no, this is not who I want to be. This is not who I am. And I know who I want to be now. And that's when I, came to that realization, no, this is not what I want for myself. And it's like a huge relief, like a burden has been lifted, knowing that I didn't have to be that person that I thought my mother wanted me to be. So it was just like, wow.
I just got goosebumps all over.
Yeah,
Fabulous, is that right?
Yeah, it's great. And I just thought, oh my gosh, wow, that's just a big, I guess, transformation is the word. Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
and it's one that's going to stick. I can feel it in you now. It's so deeply ingrained in who you are. And I know we're going to have a couple of shorter sessions just for the next few weeks, just to sort of, as a touch base.
Yeah.
But really, it's just it really is just for that. It's a touch base for you to just, have someone to share a few things with.
Yeah.
Because you have got a big time coming up. You've recently purchased a property, so congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I honestly, if I hadn't done the work that we had done, I probably would have got there, but with a lot of pulling out the hair.
You would have been a mess. Sorry, you would have been an absolute mess.
Yeah, it would have been terrible for everybody else around me. So.
Now, interestingly, speaking about everyone else around you, I think it was session 3 where we talked about the family integration, and you noticed that in the changes that you were implementing for yourself, you weren't actually telling your kids this stuff. They were just changing as they saw you change.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
what you said, they're more respectful of my time and what I do, and that was as a result of a very calm conversation that you had with them. Whereas prior, you'd be like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
but you had the conversation with them, and then they're all speaking respectfully to one another.
Yes. I know, right?
No aggression, no yelling. They're being kind and they're being nice.
Yeah,
And that was in that was, I think, 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah, they
And,
noticed a change in my behaviour, and so it's sort of, they picked up on it.
and the big one, I always think it's the big one. I'll give a little bit of background on this. Is we did actually come to a point where we realised, as part of the communication piece, was that you and Chris had no idea how to argue.
No, that's correct.
Which
Oh my
it was
Lord.
like you would actually just get into screaming matches or whatever, but you didn't actually know how to argue.
No, that's right.
It was a
It was
horrible way to sort of.
And one thing I learned from that was it's not about who's wrong or right. It's about coming to mutual understanding. So,
And that's big.
yeah. And actually, the emotional detachment that I learnt as well, removing that, and also differentiating between business and personal matters. So that was huge, and it made such a difference. Yeah, in our relationship. Yeah.
Well, so much so that just a couple of weeks ago, Chris was calling you out on your behaviour.
Yeah.
With your strategies and your techniques.
That's correct. He did. And I was sitting back going, excuse me, who are you? So he actually picked up on, even though he says sometimes that I haven't changed, he doesn't realize that that's how much I had changed, because he'd picked up the same strategies as well.
So I'm sitting there when you told me, I'm going, are you kidding me? Like, that's so.
Yeah.
Because he had seen how you approached virtually every conversation that you guys were having at the time, because it was very volatile.
Yeah.
And the way that you changed your approach actually changed his approach.
Yeah.
And,
so we actually were not getting to those angry arguments, or it was more about discussing and talking.
How fabulous is that, right?
It's just awesome, because I felt like, oh my God, do I really want to go ahead with this relationship? We're trying to buy a house together, we're planning to get married, and it's just like, do I really want to spend the rest of my life with this person? And so I knew that there had to be a change. So, and I worked really hard to try and achieve that, because it was what I wanted, and not just for myself, but for my kids, for him. He'd been through his own issues as well. He hadn't had it easy, so I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just for me, it was for everyone that I loved.
Wow.
Yeah, to have what I wanted for myself and make sure that they had it too. And so it was a good change. It was needed. And now we know how to argue.
And now you know how to argue, because it actually is, just let me tell you, people, it is actually a fine art to know how to argue well.
Yes.
To know how to argue without getting offended, without insulting the other person or being nasty. But as you said, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about opening the discussion around a topic, and that's fabulous, and that is in fact the epitome of good communication. So, you
Which
know,
is also something else that I wanted for
right,
myself.
which is
Yeah,
a big part of what you were looking to achieve for yourself.
yeah. Because as I was growing up, it's how I saw my parents would talk and make discussions as well, was arguing.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, I sort of picked that up along the way and thought this is the way to do it, but obviously it's
Yeah.
not.
But there was also, I mean, there was a lot of angst around all of that. It wasn't just the arguing. It was, and I've lost count of the number of times in those first few sessions where you were like, I'm not being heard. I'm not being heard. No
Yeah.
one's listening. I'm not being heard.
And that was part of my frustration and anger, was not being heard.
Yeah.
And I wasn't using the right way to communicate for myself to be heard. And then once I learnt those strategies, it became easier,
Yeah.
and I felt, oh, well, that wasn't too bad. I didn't get triggered. I was always aware of my triggers and when I was being triggered, and then stepping back and allowing some space for myself or for the other person to
Yeah.
be able to continue the discussion
And that's, again, that,
in a
you know,
rational manner.
yeah, that's something that we talked about. And again, not an easy thing to put into play, yet you did. The
Yeah.
ability to kind of, you know, because this was really big for you, and it's big for anyone, to actually recognize what's starting to happen, and then being able to go, you know what, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go
Yeah.
there. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to work out what the hell's going on with me, and then I can approach it from a very different headspace.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
that was the part, I think that was one of the situations where it was like this almighty boom that you did that in between one of our calls. And it was, and I think you actually then wrote as well, you wrote down a few things. And I was like, you're teaching yourself now.
Yeah.
You know, you took, and this is why I say you've taken all the experiences and you've applied them for you in your life
Yeah.
in a way that works for you. So you don't just kind of, I don't know, you manage it really well now. And
Yeah.
it's making you so much happier.
Yes, it is. And that peace that I wanted to find within myself is there now. I'm not angry all the time like I used to be and just snap or
Yeah.
at people like I used to. It's just like, okay, rightio, I took that in.
Wow!
It's just like,
No way!
so
Wow!
yeah, and it was about the listening and actually hearing as well what was being said, which I took into account too, which was really important as part of learning to communicate. You
You know what, you just
yeah.
I take it in and I just go, wow, okay. Fran!
And I find myself now these days when we are having a discussion, or if I'm having a discussion, I'm actually more calm and rational. So I'm not being triggered like I used to be.
That's amazing. That's amazing, right?
Yeah, it is. It's truly amazing.
Do you
And I
sit back
just think,
sometimes and go, hang on a sec, I'm sure I'm supposed to be really shitty
yeah,
right now.
yes.
I'm
I think
sure I'm supposed
I
to get
could be
really angry.
really, really shitty at this point now, and raising my voice and getting frustrated and
Yeah.
feeling that rage that I used to feel is no longer there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my gosh, am I
That's
feeling okay?
most definitely going to be in the title of this one. Rage I used to feel is no longer there.
Yeah.
And also what you said about having that peace within inside you, that's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fran, I know that you also found a lot of benefit from the little group that we have of everyone that's taking part in the 6-week
Yeah.
intensive. If you want to just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I just being a part of that group it's really good for your confidence, and the way we all support each other is just amazing. I can't describe it. Even though we all have our own different journeys to go through and self-growth, it's just like we're still there supporting each other and boosting each other's morale, and the peer support is just wonderful. And I actually will kind of miss it. You know, it's
I know.
just like, I feel kind of sad, but then I think it's just wonderful to be a part of, and I feel honoured and privileged to be a part of that too.
Well, I feel very honoured and very privileged that you chose to undertake this with me.
Yeah,
Not only that, I'm really happy that you did, because
yeah,
again, I'm seeing this woman sitting in front of me, and it's not at all who we start
exactly.
with.
I didn't know what to expect. I knew that I do have some guidelines of what I wanted to achieve, which I have, which is just wonderful. And then also knowing that there are other women or people in the group that are going through their own self-discovery and
Yeah,
journey. So
yeah.
it's beautiful to see every week how much everyone has achieved. And
I know, you're right.
posting our focus word for the week is actually a goal to strive towards, or just, even though it might not be attainable at times, but
Yeah,
it's actually being accountable for your own
absolutely.
self.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it sets up a really healthy pattern of behaviour, um,
Yeah.
of moving forward, you know,
Yeah.
which is what this actually, it's what this entire process is all about. It's about setting up healthier behaviours for
Yeah.
yourself that
Yeah.
are going to, you know, they really do build on who you are becoming, who you are
Yeah.
now, and who you're going
Yeah.
to be in future. And to do that with a sense of confidence in that process, because you can see how it's worked so well for you now
Yeah.
in building who you've become. It's
That's right.
absolutely just, it's
It's
fascinating to
incredible.
start
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. And
But
it,
as I said, you did a lot of that yourself in between our calls, where you would look at the situations, and you took on board everything that we talked about, and even your vocabulary has changed.
yes.
The
Yeah, I
words
noticed
that you,
that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and that to me is it's truly, it's a beautiful thing. It's an expansion of mind, body, and heart, which is
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Adele. Thank you very much.
Um,
I wouldn't have done it without you. So I know, and I am very grateful for that, the opportunity that was given to me to be a part of that
I'm
program.
grateful that you took up the opportunity, and we had done a couple of sessions prior to that dealing with um, the grief that you were experiencing. And,
Yeah.
you know, I've got to say, I'm really glad that those prior sessions had taken place, because what we were able to do now is really get rid of the bits that just were no longer serving you,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know. Um,
The expectations that I had for myself, that I felt that I had for myself, that I had to be, um, I think that was really important to do the groundwork to remove that before I started the
Look
work
at
on
you go.
myself. Yeah.
Look at you go.
And I was just thinking about that before this call. I thought, you know, the pain that I felt for the loss of my parents was something that I knew was holding me back from moving forward as well. And I needed to come to peace with that before I could do any work for myself. And that was
Yeah.
really important to me.
Mm.
And just knowing that it's okay um, to grieve, and you, as you say, allow yourself to feel, because if you hold that all in, then
It's not
it's
good.
awful for the people around you for a start to deal with, but you know, it's not good for yourself either.
Yeah.
So it was really important to know that because I always felt guilty of
Mm.
allowing myself to feel what I was feeling. So, and then now I don't feel guilt, which is the good thing, because I think I just go with it. I just allow myself to feel those emotions, and if I feel sad, I can feel sad, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay.
What a turnaround.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely
as you
amazing.
said, it is okay to feel sad, but I don't feel that pain anymore like I used to.
Wow.
And speaking about that, it's coming up to my mum's 5-year death anniversary on Friday. And last week I did have a bit of a shocker, but I knew why. So,
Yeah.
and that was the other thing, was pinpointing why
Mm.
I was feeling the way I was feeling and what was triggering that, and sitting back and, you know, thinking about what it is that hurts, or why do you feel this way, and working through
Such an
that.
input. Yeah, see, and Fran, this is what I'm talking about, you know, laying the groundwork with really good habits. Your mind, your brain now doesn't just flare into aggression. It goes, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, that's right. Whereas before, I just used to flare into aggression, and
Yeah.
it was just like, and I didn't know how to deal with it.
And there was
But now I
there
know.
was no definition of anything that was going on inside that cluster of emotions.
Yeah, that's correct. And
You know?
now I know how to break it down
Oh
and
yes.
and work out what it is that's causing that trigger or
That's
emotion.
that's fabulous. I reckon Chris probably hates that because
Yeah.
you're full logic now. You're full.
Yeah,
I understand what's going on. Don't you try and bullshit me.
yeah. I think he kind of hates it too, because why do you have to analyze? Why do you have to analyze everything else? Because it's just doing this, the work on myself and not being triggered. I don't want to be that person anymore, and I knew that when I first started. So, and I wanted to change.
You've done an amazing job, Fran. And again, I say thank you from my heart for allowing me to be part of this, and honestly allowing me to enter your head.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting journey, and to help you get out of your own head and see
Yeah.
so much about what you're capable of and who you want to be.
Actually, I think that's one of the things you said, actually, is stepping outside of yourself. And then it allows you to do that, the way
Yeah.
that we work through everything
Yeah.
together. It actually allows you to step out of yourself and see where the attention is needed
Yeah.
and what to focus on for yourself each week.
Oh
Which
my
I think,
God, this is just like gold. This is amazing.
I don't know where half this stuff is coming from, but anyway, it's just coming out now.
And that's the beauty of this entire process. Once you've done the work, and then we do the wind-up call, where we run through a little bit. It sort of cements a lot of ideas in there, and then we do this, and even more wisdom comes out.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, and I hope that when you watch this back, you can see what I have seen develop over the last couple of months, and see what I was talking about in that post when I said who you were.
Yeah.
Because it's a beautiful, beautiful transformation, and it's something that, you know what, at the risk of getting a bit of a tear in your eye, that's not the intention. It would make your parents very proud to see who you've become.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I'm not going to make either of us cry now. I'm going to wind it up and say thank you again, Fran.
Adele, thank you for the opportunity to be part of it. I was hoping I was going to be one of those people that, was selected. I was just praying so hard. I'd speak to my parents, please let this happen for me. So, and it's been an amazing, amazing journey along the way, just finding out all these things about myself, and having you there beside me was, I think it makes it even more special.
Thank you.
Because as I said, I don't think I would have done it without you. And I am very, very grateful.
It is so much my pleasure. And, it's been 2 months, Fran, just over 2 months.
Yeah.
And what you have undertaken for yourself it's nothing short of absolutely freaking fabulous.
Yeah. And that's one of my new words too. Is, oh my
Fabulous.
gosh, it's fabulous. Fabulous.
Everything's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is. It's, just the way everything has led up to this point in time. it's just been amazing, like, and fabulous.
Truly is.
And now,
And
yeah,
there's just, you know what, there's just more and more of this joy that you're experiencing now.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
more and more of that to come, you know.
yeah,
And, you know, you've got a new phase ahead of you, with moving and setting up your own home,
yeah.
which is going to be absolutely incredible. I
I know,
congratulate you.
I pinch myself every time. I just think, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. It's just like it was meant to happen this
Yeah,
way.
and you know what?
So,
You're now in a space where you're actually going to really enjoy what you
yeah,
worked so hard to get to, you know?
exactly. And I think that was the important thing that cemented the work that we did. Was now, like as you said, I get to enjoy my life.
Yes.
So, and that
Wonderful.
really, I really felt it in there. It was just like, that's true.
It is
It's
true.
just like, yeah,
There's no more fighting. There's no more
no,
battling. There's no more anything. You've got
yeah,
all the strategies that you need. You know yourself so well now,
yeah,
and you know you know how to work it.
yeah. And I
I
think
want to
that one of
say
the things
it's
that stuck in my head is to always go back to the basics.
yeah. Yes. Always go back to basics. Like, oh, there.
Yes. Especially when you feel yourself getting to that point, like, okay, time out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fran, again, thank you so much.
No, thank you,
Thank you
Adele.
for agreeing to do this. And you and I are going to be spending a bit more time together, and I truly look forward to that.
Yes, me too. Thank
Thank you
you,
so much.
Adele. Love you.
Love you.